Once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see you today, the 21st of September 2024. Once again, apparently we are in 2024, but in fact, in terms of history, we are not in 2024. And I'm going to tell you about that fact in another occasion. So, according to the schedule, we were talking about this on Thursday, the day before yesterday, about what we are going to present in this session. In this couple of sessions, I mean on the 19th, on the 21st, so these two sessions, and we are going to present an activity called Línea de Tiempo Situaciones Pasadas. And according to the schedule, we said that we have the proposal to present this activity is going to be to do it between the 19th and the 24th of this month. So we said that according to the learning guide, we're going to present an activity similar to this. So this is a timeline of a student and apprentice I had some months ago. And she said, okay, in 2005, I was born. In 2007, I made my first trip. In 2008, my father bought me my first bicycle, and so on. So we're going to mention 10 events of our lives. This is an example. And what's important to take into account in here? It's important to take into account that we are talking about events in the past. So 2005, 2009, 1994, 1871, or whatever. So I'm pretty sure you were not born in the 19th century because it's not obvious, it's not possible because you would be dead now. But we are going to talk about topics about past. So to do that, we need to study the simple past tense. And before of that, we need to understand an important topic of this. And this topic is related to activities, actions, or in terms of grammar, verbs. So we said last time that we need to study verbs, regular and we already studied regular and irregular verbs. So we are going to we are going to study in a quick way these topics because we have already studied them on Thursday, but just in case, we're going to do a quick recap. So just tell us.
I have questions,
Yeah.
but can I ask them in Spanish, please?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Be my guest.
Bueno, buenos días, qué pena.
Hello.
Yo estuve leyendo el material porque veo que la entrega es el 24 y entonces esta es la última sesión antes de la entrega. Em, y yo tengo mi línea de tiempo, pero la entrega solo se puede hacer una vez. Entonces no sé si se la puedo mandar para que usted la revise y luego yo subir la corregida o si la subo así. No entiendo.
Interesting question. Because you asked me in Spanish, I'm going to reply you in Spanish. I should answer to you in English, but I'm going to do it in Spanish, just in case. La respuesta es la siguiente. Si usted ya la tiene subida, hay dos opciones. Si cumple con los criterios de la guía de aprendizaje que los habíamos visto hace un par de días, ¿cierto? Que plantea que usted mencione 10 eventos de su historia, de su vida, de nacimiento, infancia, primer amor, universidad, colegio, graduación, bueno, lo que usted quiera mencionar, depende de su edad y depende de las vivencias que haya tenido. Todo eso va a estar en pasado, ¿cierto? Idealmente que tenga una... ¿Dónde estás? ¿Dónde estás? Ya me perdiste. Aquí estás. Idealmente que tenga dibujitos, que sea agradable a la vista y toda la vuelta, ¿cierto? Y la guía de aprendizaje nos dice, por ejemplo, este podría ser un ejemplo de su línea de tiempo, ¿cierto? A mí, ¿qué es lo que más me interesa o lo que voy a dar prioridad? Que efectivamente hayan 10 eventos que se cumpla con los criterios de la guía de aprendizaje, ¿cierto? Y si comete errores, hay dos opciones. Como aquí a la niña Gabriela, aquí yo le hice algunas correcciones. Por ejemplo, no es in December 16th, sino on December 16th. Porque, digamos, si solo fuese el mes es demasiado amplio, ¿cierto? En cuyo caso efectivamente utilizaríamos la preposición in. Pero como es un mes con un día, debido a la parte gramatical, no es muy amplio ni tampoco es muy específico. No es a las 7 en punto de la noche del día 16 de diciembre de 2005. Mi madre me dio nacimiento, me invento, ahí en ese momento es muy específico, en ese caso sería at, ¿cierto? Pero entonces son cositas que yo doy retroalimentación en medio de las actividades, ¿listo? Entonces, si usted gusta, la puede subir. De hecho, usted tiene el espacio para subir la evidencia no hasta el 24, tiene espacio para subirla, hasta el día 16 de octubre, ¿cierto? Pero ¿cuál es la cuestión? Que si usted deja todo para el final y hay necesidad de hacer correcciones, ¿cierto? Probablemente si la sube el 16 a las 11:50 de la noche, lo más probable es que yo no la revise y porque estaré durmiendo y pues no tendrá retroalimentación para corrección, ¿cierto? Así que si está muy, muy regular la evidencia, porque digamos tiene 3 eventos nada más y no 10, pues será una actividad que no pueda pasar, ¿cierto? Entonces, tiene hasta el 16, no hasta el 24. Lo sugerido es que lo haga antes del 24 para que vaya en sintonía con todas las actividades y, digamos, no esté al final cargada de trabajo, ¿cierto? Pero si usted quiere enviarlo todo, absolutamente todo al principio, genial. Si quiere esperar todo hasta el 16, pues, bueno, ¿qué hacemos? Pues estará disponible, ¿cierto? Lo que yo voy a hacer es que cuando usted la suba a la actividad, yo le voy a dar retroalimentación en caso de que haya necesidad. Por ejemplo, estos detallitos, ¿no? Que no son gran cosa, ¿cierto? Por ejemplo, no es in sino on, no es 16 sino 16avo, ¿cierto? Son cositas que pues no son el fin del mundo si uno se equivoca en eso, ¿cierto? Pero que, digamos, no ameritan que se desarrolle la actividad una vez más porque son detallitos chiquiticos, ¿cierto? Que si definitivamente me pone solamente 3 actividades, pues ahí sí le digo, venga, hay que realizarla de nuevo, ¿listo? ¿Qué es lo que yo miro? Principalmente que se cumplan los criterios de la guía de aprendizaje. Eso es lo que más me interesa. Los errores todos los cometemos. En la retroalimentación yo le digo, venga, hay que hacerlo así. Si definitivamente hay que repetirla, efectivamente se puede hacer una vez, pero una vez yo le dé la calificación de aprobado o reprobado, si está aprobado, no hay que volverle a enviar, pero si está aprobado, pues perdón, si está aprobado, no hay que volverle a enviar la actividad porque pues no hay necesidad, simplemente tener en cuenta los comentarios que yo le digo para una próxima evidencia o para su vida, que es mucho mejor. Y si no está aprobado, pues ahí sí se le abre el link para que usted reenvíe su actividad en caso hipotético de que sea necesario, ¿no? Porque no necesariamente va a ser requisito de quien vuelva a enviar, pues sí, sí ya está aprobada, ¿no? A eso me refiero. Sí,
Ah, ok, gracias.
listo. ¿Me lo puede mostrar? Sí, me lo puede mandar, no problema. Me la puede mandar por correo, si gusta, y ahí le hago la retroalimentación, aunque prefiero que sea en plataforma de una vez, para, si no amerita hacer una revisión muy exhaustiva, es decir, un cambio muy grande, pues simplemente tendría los comentarios ahí en la plataforma y pues ya con eso, pues nuevamente los comentarios le servirán para sus próximas evidencias o mejor aún para su vida, que es más importante. Bien. Muy bien. Okay, let's continue. So this is the evidence. This is an example. We already talked about this last time. And last time we were talking about regular and irregular verbs. About regular verbs, we said that they are called regular. Here they are. Because, no, sorry, not regular yet. Irregular verbs. We said that irregular verbs are called on that way because the present form, the past form, and the past participle sometimes are exactly the same, sometimes are completely different, and sometimes change a little, just a little. And they are very important because they are used very commonly, very frequently. in our day, in our everyday life. For example, we always begin a new project. We always buy our food. I don't know. We always break a relationship, perhaps. We always build relationships because build is not necessarily used to build buildings, constructions, houses, apartments, and so on. We could because we can build relationships. We always buy food, for example, or catch a flu, or I don't know, or do an activity, do exercise, for example, or drink water, drink juice, any kind of beverages, right? So they are very common in our everyday life. So that's why they are very important. The issue with them is that they don't have a rule, a specific rule, because they sometimes change. Choose, chose, chosen. For example, they change a lot, or catch, caught, caught. They change a little, or for example, cut, cut, and cut, they don't change a lot at all. So we saw a video about this. I'm going to give you the link of the video. Just in case you haven't seen it, you couldn't seen it in the last session. So I'm going to give you the link so you can check it in the future, not now. And then now I'm going to play a game with you. This is about irregular verbs. So it has 30 questions. Therefore, we are not going to answer all 30 questions because we don't have a lot of time to do that. Therefore, we are going to play for, I don't know, for 5-10 minutes. That's it. So let's go with this one. Oops. This is not what I wanted to do. So this is a recap of what we were studying last time. Therefore, if you haven't seen the recording, I recommend you to check the recording or check the summary um, available in Sayula as soon as we finish this session, of course, not now. So we're going to play this game. To open this game, you just have to click in the link. This is the first option. The first option is open this link, kahoot.it, and type this number. And the third option is to scan this QR code. These three options are available for you to join to the game. Okay, I'll start in 1 minute, 11:19. Okay. Okay, look, let's go. So what's the objective? The objective is, of course, answer correctly the questions, right? Answer correctly the questions. The idea is for you to choose the past form of each verb. For example, the verb take, the past form of the verb take is took. So here it is. So you have to choose the red option. It's not talked, it's not taked, because they are not correct, right? First. Second, you have to choose all the diamonds, green, violet, blue, scarlet diamonds, doesn't matter. The idea is for you to choose the diamonds, but you have to avoid all other items, so cans, boots, bones, and so on. Okay, so that's it. You will have 5 minutes to complete the game. Good luck. 1 minute and a half left. Forty seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time up. Okay, look. So we have no third place because there's no participant. Second place is for Marlene, good. And the first place is for 553. That's just mean. Good job. Okay, so this is an example of how to create irregular verbs because irregular verbs don't have a rule, a specific rule, and that's the issue with these irregular verbs. We have to memorize them, unfortunately. I'm sorry. And we also have regular verbs. And about regular verbs, we said that regular verbs have a two different issues. The first one is the construction of them, because first of all, we need to understand, we need to remember, we should remember in this case, that regular verbs are called regular because the past form and the past participle form are exactly the same. Exactly the same. In terms of speaking, I mean pronunciation, and in terms of writing or spelling, that's the same. So what do we have in here? What can we see here? What can we notice in here? We can notice that past form and past participle form have an IED ending. All of them have an ED ending, all of them. So this is something peculiar. This is something important with these verbs. All of them have an ED ending, all of them. That's a valid, acceptable, true, real for all of them. All of them end in ED. So the constructions, in terms of construction, is this. We are going to take the verb, the main verb, I mean the infinitive form, and we are going to add ed at the end to create the past form. For example, cook, cooked. However, if we already have an e ending, for example, like ends in e, we are only at the letter d. That's it. Additionally, if our verb ends in y before a consonant and is preceded by a consonant, the y is going to change, is going to be modified, is going to be replaced by, substituted by IED. So cry, cried. This is something very similar to simple present tense. Do you remember that in simple present tense, in affirmative sentences conjugated for third person of singular, I mean, Cristina, Pablo, and the dolphin, when they perform in action in present, in an affirmative action, we say, for example, Mariana sings, Christian believes, or the dog barks, for example. Do you remember that? So this is something very similar because instead of adding s in present, in past, we are going to add D, ED, or IED. This is very similar to simple present tense. The grammar is related. So if you understand the grammar of simple present tense, it's not going to be difficult for you to understand the grammar of simple past tense because it's very similar. Okay. So additionally, we said that if our verb ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, but not any kind of verb, only for regular verbs, regular, only regular. So if we have this ending consonant, vowel, consonant, the last consonant is going to be doubled with some exceptions. So for example, jog ends in consonant, vowel, consonant. Therefore, this G is going to be doubled. Jog, jogged, scan, scanned. Exceptions. First group of exceptions. We are not going to double W, X, or Y. First exception. And second exception is that we are not going to double the last consonant if the accent or the stress is not in the last syllable. Is like in Spanish when we say palabras agudas. So if we have palabras agudas, we are going to double the last consonant. If no, we are not going to double the last letter. So in this case, the pronunciation is prefer. The accent, the stress, is in the last syllable. Prefer. Therefore, we double this R. Prefer, preferred, or incur. It's not the pronunciation is not incur. Pronunciation is incur. Therefore, we double the R. Incurred. Instead, or this is the exception, visit. The pronunciation is not visit, is visit. Visit, right? The accent is in V. Therefore, the T is not double. The same happens in open. Is open. No, open is not correct. So therefore, this N is not double. Open, opened, present and past, respectively. So this is the creation in terms of writing of these regular verbs. But we also said that they are exactly the same in terms of past and past participle. And not only in terms of writing, but also in terms of speaking, pronunciation. Therefore, the next step is to understand the pronunciation of this ed ending, the topic we are adding at the end of this word. First, okay, so I have a question here. In this case, when do I use or a, on, and in? So that's a question, right? I'm going to share with you a presentation, a quick presentation, because this is not part of today's lesson, because this is level 2, I guess, 2 and 1. I'm not really sure in what level do you see that, but it's not in this level. But answering this question, it's better to share with you this information. We're going to use these prepositions because these are prepositions. The name of the grammar name is preposition. We're going to use them in time and location. We're going to use in for time when we are talking about time, and we are going to use in or at when we are talking about location. And think it on this way. We're going to use in when we see the big picture, something general, a big space of time, a big space of distance in terms of, say, surface. We are going to use at when we are talking about something very specific in terms of time or in terms of a location. For example, what's big in terms of time? Centuries. A century has 100 years. So this 100 years take into account a lot of time, a lot of seconds, a lot of minutes, a lot of days. In terms of location, for example, a country, Brazil. Brazil is a huge country, or India, it's almost a continent, almost, right? But about at, something very specific. Okay, at the entrance of your apartment. So this is very specific because you only have one apartment or one house or one, I don't know, hub or whatever. So you only have one, right? And you are there, right? You cannot be divided into three, right? So this is very specific. Or specifically at the entrance of the supermarket. of my neighborhood. There are no, there is only one favorite supermarket in your neighborhood, so you're going to be there, right? This is very specific. And in terms of time, exactly at 11 a.m. So this is the time we start our classes on Saturdays, for example, right? We could say, making a reference to the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. So this is the heaven or the paradise. In at is like the hell, right? And on is the Middle Earth, is the purgatory. So heaven, hell, and purgatory. Because on is not too big, but on is not too specific. Is like the meat of the sandwich. So that's it. That's on. In is for something too big. At is for something very specific, and on is for something not too big but not too small. Right? So this is the idea of these three prepositions that we use for time and location. So pleasure, yes. Okay, let's return to what we were talking some minutes ago. So past form and past participle form have the same writing, but also the same pronunciation. And this is what matters now, the pronunciation. In terms of pronunciation, we said last time that we need to understand the difference between voiced and voiceless sounds. Voiced sound implies a vibration in your throat, and voiceless sound means that there is no vibration, there's lack of vibration, there's no presence of vibration, there's absence of vibration in your throat. And we are going to see that in consonants, right? So in this case, for example, the sound of the letter V, so if we pronounce the sound of this letter, it's a V. If we touch our throat, we're going to feel vibration. The same happens with this letter Z. However, there are other consonants that are not going to produce vibration when they are pronounced. For example, the letter F is like when you are blowing something, right? You don't feel vibration. The same happens with this sound, right? So this is important because the ed ending pronunciation, because we know that this verb is knock, but the past form is going to sound slightly different. We're going to have three different pronunciations. We're going to have t, d, or id, three different kinds of pronunciation. The question is, when are we going to pronounce it, the ed ending, as t, d, or id? That's the question. The answer depends. We are going to relate voiced sounds with voiced sounds and voiceless sounds with voiceless sounds. That's what we are going to do. So in this case, the T sound doesn't generate vibration. So we are going to relate this sound with another voiceless sound. I mean, with another sound that generates no vibration. In this case, walk. We're going to focus in the last sound of this verb, and we are going to notice that this verb doesn't generate vibration in its last sound. Therefore, the past form would be pronounced as walked. Walk, present, walked, past. Touch, present, touched, past. Cross, cross, present, and crossed, past. Second pronunciation. If we have vibration, we're going to relate this sound with another vibrated sound. Smell, there's vibration. If you touch your throat, you're going to feel vibration in your throat. Smell, the past form would sound like smelled. Jug, jugged. Advise, advised. Second pronunciation. This is a reminder because we already studied this on Thursday. So if you need more details or more examples, you can see the recording of the last time. And finally, the last pronunciation is id. So when are we going to use this id pronunciation? When our verb ends in t ending or d ending. Affect, we cannot say affected. Instead, we said affected or last. No, it's not possible. Lasted. Affected, lasted. Or decide. The word ends in sound of d, right? So we cannot pronounce, because this is a voiced sound, and according to the previous rule, we have to relate voiced sounds with voiced sounds. So therefore, the pronunciation should be decided, right? But it's difficult to pronounce that. Therefore, that's why we said decided, to make a clear reference that we are using the simple past form. Decided, recommended. So these are the three kinds of pronunciations we have here. And just to make some examples, learn, there's vibration here, therefore the pronunciation is learned, right? Love, there is vibration in the last sound, so therefore the past form could be like loved. Yep. Mention, the pronunciation could be mentioned. Miss, there's no vibration, therefore the pronunciation could be missed. Note, the pronunciation for this verb in the past form would be noted, right? And the last example, let's go with knock. There's no vibration, so therefore the past form would be knocked, right? So this is something that we studied on Thursday. So if you need a recap, I recommend you to check the recording of that session. So we're going to play a game, a quick game, because we have not a lot of time. And I'm going to do it with you. We're going to reply, we are going to answer 7 or 8 questions because we are not having a lot of time to do this. Therefore, we're not going to complete all 20 questions, okay? If required, I'm going to give you an explanation in Spanish too, because I know this topic is a little difficult, just a little. Yeah, here's the link. You already know how this works. I'll start in 1 minute. I'm sorry, Maria Marlene, I'm going to silence your microphone. So if you have questions, you can reopen the microphone or type in the chat, okay? Okay, let's go. I'm going to do it with you. If required, I'm going to give you the explanation in Spanish, if required. Open, what's the pronunciation of open in past? Opened, opened, or opened? Bien, open. la palabra abrir. La N, el último sonido del verbo, si usted se toca la garganta, va a generar vibración en su garganta, ¿cierto? Y lo que vamos a hacer es relacionar sonidos que generen vibración con otros sonidos que también generen vibración. Por otro lado, vamos a relacionar sonidos que no generen vibración con otros sonidos que tampoco generen vibración. En este caso, open, si yo alargo un poquito el sonido de la letra N y me toco la garganta, eso ayuda mucho. ¿Cierto? Me interesa el sonido de la letra, del último sonido de la palabra. Como me genera vibración, yo voy a relacionarlo con un sonido adicional que también me genere vibración. ¿Y cuál es el sonido que me genera la vibración? El sonido de la letra D. D. Open presente, open pasado. ¿Listo? Vamos con otra. Study. Study. ¿Cuál será la pronunciación? Studied, studied o studied. La misma del anterior. Study. Todo sonido de vocal genera vibración. A, E, I, O, U. Tóquese la garganta y siéntalo. Por lo tanto, el pasado va a sonar como si fuese una D. Studied. Vamos con la tercera. Hate. Hate. Será hated, hated o hated. Como en este caso no genera vibración, ¿cierto? Hate, ¿cierto? Lo coherente sería decir, relacionémoslo con otro sonido que tampoco genere vibración, ¿cierto? Que sería otra vez la T. Pero aquí viene el problema, que si forzamos la pronunciación sería algo así como decir hate, ¿cierto? Pero se pierde. En ese tipo de casos, cuando tenemos pronunciación que termina en sonido de T de tomate o de D de dedo, como hate, lo que vamos a hacer es modificarlo un poquitico para que efectivamente suene ese pasado y decir id, hated o decide, por ejemplo. Hay otro ejemplo, decide. Lo coherente sería decir, como termina en sonido de vibración, decide, ¿cierto? Lo coherente sería decir decide, ¿cierto? Pero se pierde ese pasado, no se nota. Por lo tanto, lo que vamos a hacer para referenciarlo es decir id, decide, presente, decided, pasado. Lo mismo aquí, hate, presente, hated, pasado. ¿Listo? Vamos con la siguiente. Call, call, vibration. Ahí sí hay vibración. ¿Cómo será entonces? No podemos decir call-lead porque hay vibración de inicial. Call. Recuerde que vamos a unificar vibración con vibración. Call, la letra L, el sonido de la última consonante, genera vibración. Lo vamos a relacionar con el sonido que también genera vibración. Recuerde que solo utilizamos id cuando nuestro verbo termina en sonido de D de dedo o nuestro verbo termina en sonido de T de tomate, ¿cierto? Como hate, hated, ¿listo? En este caso, call no tiene terminación en sonido de D de dedo, ¿cierto? Por eso genera vibración nada más. Por eso decimos cold. Cold presente, cold pasado. Vamos con la siguiente. Watch. Watch. Watch, la terminación si usted se toca la garganta, no va a generar vibración en su garganta, ¿cierto? Como no genera vibración, lo vamos a relacionar con un sonido que tampoco genere vibración, que en este caso es watch, presente, watched, pasado, watched, ¿vale? last, last. ¿Cómo será la pronunciación? Last, lasted o lasted. Recuerde que cuando tenemos pronunciación en terminación de T de tomate o de D de dedo, ahí sí aumentamos id. Last, lasted. ¿Vale? Hate, hated. Eh, act, acted. O vamos a ver otro, por ejemplo, por acá. Recommend, recommended. ¿Vale? Solamente cuando terminamos en sonido de T de tomate o de D de dedo, sonido, la escritura. Vamos a decir id, affect, affected, ¿vale? Por ejemplo. Kiss, kiss. No hay vibración. Como no hay vibración, vamos a decir que el pasado es kissed. Kiss presente, kissed pasado. Estoy exagerando el gesto y eso ayuda muchísimo para entenderlo al principio. Después uno ya lo pronuncia, pues, normal, ¿no? Kiss, kissed. Es muy sutil el cambio, pero es cuando ya uno ya le coge el tino, ¿no? Mientras tanto es bueno exagerarlo. Vamos con dos más. Use. Use. En este caso, hay un error de plataforma porque sí, efectivamente es used. Este sí es error de plataforma. Este sí me disculpo yo porque efectivamente es error del juego porque sí es used. Ahí sí lo hizo bien. Visit. Visit. El problema de decir con la T es que se pierde el sonido. Es como decir visit, presente, visit, pasado. Se pierde ese sonido. O sea, si uno lo pronuncia relativamente rápido, no se entiende si estamos hablando del presente o del pasado. Entonces, para referenciar que efectivamente estamos hablando del pasado, decimos visit, presente, visited, pasado. ¿Sí? Porque si solamente decimos visit, se pierde esa referencia de que estamos hablando del pasado, porque la diferencia fundamental entre presente y pasado es, en términos gramaticales, está en la pronunciación del verbo, porque es el verbo lo que nos va a cambiar. Una cosa es decir, I watch TV y otra cosa es decir, I watched TV, ¿cierto? En el primer caso yo miro televisión, en el segundo caso yo miré televisión. Y es la pronunciación del verbo, quitando el contexto, ¿no? La pronunciación del verbo lo más relevante para entender si estamos hablando de presente o pasado, ¿vale? Sobre todo con verbos regulares, con irregulares pues es evidente, pero con regulares la pronunciación es vital. Share, vibración, share. Good. Vamos con las últimas dos. Want, want. Ahora sí. Vamos con las otras tres. Need, need. Si decimos needed, se pierde la pronunciación. Efectivamente, vibración con vibración. Pero ¿cuál es el rollo con este pedacito? Que si solamente decimos d, es decir, need es el presente. Si decimos que el pasado sería needed, si lo hacemos, lo pronunciamos rápido, se pierde ese sonido, ¿cierto? Y no sabemos si estamos hablando en presente o en pasado. Por eso, con verbos que terminan en pronunciación de D de dedo, T de tomate, decimos id. Need, presente, needed, pasado, ¿vale? Esas son las dos excepciones para tenerlas en cuenta. Que son los mismos sonidos que nosotros agregamos, ¿no? Sonido de T de tomate, sonido de T de dedo. Últimas dos. Stop. Stop. Wash. Último. Place. Place. Si se toca la garganta, el sonido que estoy generando, que suena como si fuese una S, ¿no? No genera vibración. Por lo tanto, decimos placed. Muy bien. Con estos ejemplos es más que suficiente. Sugerencia es, bueno, no vamos a alcanzar, así que no lo puedo hacer, es que tome la lista de verbos regulares que está subida en Sayuna, aquí están los más importantes, y los reconozca. Look, ¿cierto? ¿Cómo se pronuncia? Listo. Entonces, para ver esa parte de pronunciación, hay una página que se llama Word Reference. Es un diccionario que yo utilizo muy a menudo. Por ejemplo, digo, listo, aquí está. Ups, pequeño cambio. Listo. En este caso, aquí está la pronunciación, ¿cierto? La parte de pronunciación en alfabeto fonético internacional no es lo que nos interesa en este momento, pero sí la pronunciación que tenemos aquí en versión americana británica. Entonces, por ejemplo, dice create. Y aquí, en función de esa pronunciación, digo, ¿será la pronunciación created, created o created? En función de lo que hemos visto, ¿cierto? Como termina en pronunciación de T de tomate, ¿cierto? Diríamos created. Vamos a ver, por ejemplo, este. Medir. La pronunciación está aquí. Measure.
measure, measure, measure,
Si yo sé que genera vibración y eso lo compruebo al tocarme la garganta, ¿cierto? La pronunciación no va a ser measured, ni tampoco va a ser measured, sino measured, measured, ¿vale? Exagerando un poquito el gesto, porque uno cuando le coge el tino, obviamente no lo exagera, pero al principio sí es bueno hacerlo, ¿vale? Entonces, sugerencia, tome la lista de verbos, mírelos aquí en Word Reference o en un diccionario que le permite escuchar la pronunciación y haga el ejercicio usted, ¿vale? Para ver la pronunciación correcta de los verbos regulares, porque los regulares son los del dolor de cabeza en pronunciación. Muy bien, habiendo dicho eso, switch to Spanish, sorry, switch to English again. And let's go with today's topic because this is something we studied last time, so I needed to do a recap. But today is not the idea of today is not to talk about regular and irregular verbs. This is not what I wanted to do today. I want to mention something about simple past tense. With simple past tense, simple past tense is the topic we are going to need to create our timeline. So in 2005, we lived in New York. So in this case, we are talking about something that happened in the past. I was born in 1994. This is something that happened in the past. I had my first guest had my first guest in, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. So in those cases, we are talking about events in past. And to do that, we need to understand how the simple past tense works. Okay, so with simple past tense, we need to be very careful, very cautious with affirmative sentences, because in affirmative sentences, we're going to use the past form of the verb. Doesn't matter if it's going to be a regular verb or an irregular verb. So this is what we studied last time, and we did a recap today until 4 minutes ago, right? The pronunciation and the writing of these verbs. So why are we going to study simple past tense? Why is this tense important? This is the issue. This is the most important issue or situation. Okay, we are going to study simple past tense because simple past tense expresses completed actions in a concrete moment of the past. Something very specific that happened in 2004. Something very specific that happened 1 week ago. Something very specific that occurred 2 days ago or 1 hour ago, doesn't matter. Started in the past and finished in the past in a specific moment of time. For example, Andrew watched TV yesterday. This is very specific because it was yesterday, not now, yesterday. Started yesterday and ended yesterday. First situation. Second situation, to describe a series of activities that started in the past and also ended in the past, but they are related. When one activity started, when the first activity ended, started the activity number 2. When activity number 2 ended, started number 3, and so on until the end of the times, right? For example, this is a series of activities that are connected because when one finishes, started the second. And when the second activity finished, the third session started, and so on. For example, did you add flour, pour in the milk, and then add the eggs? So first you add flour. The second activity is to pour the milk. And the third activity is to add the eggs. All of them in past. And the third reason why we study simple past tense is to mention that something was true for a period of time in the past. So started in the past, ended in the past again, but lasted for a period of time, for 1 month, for a year, for a decade, for a century, I don't know, for a period of time, but started and ended in the past. So this is why we study simple past tense again. For example, something that happened in the past and something that didn't happen in the past. He didn't play the piano in the concert. The concert lasted for, I don't know, 3 hours. But in the middle of the concert, he didn't play this instrument. Instead, he played the bass, el bajo, right? Something that happened for a period of time in the past. Normally, this is related to habits, normally, right? But not always, but normally. So these are the reasons why we study simple past tense. To mention actions that started and finished in the past, to mention a series of activities that started and ended in the past, and to mention activities that lasted for a period of time in the past, but started and ended again in the past. What about the structure? Let's see the structure, but first, let's answer a question. Jasmine asks, where do we find this list of verbs? Where do we find this list of verbs, right? I guess this is the list that you are talking about, right? So we go to our course, in this case, level 4. We go to sesiones en línea, grabaciones, sesiones en línea. And here, you're going to have the recording. This is a YouTube video link to check the recording of the induction. This is the session of Wednesday. On session 1, this is a session of Thursday. We have the summary. I mean, this. You have this a PDF document telling you where I'm telling you the use of regular and irregular verbs. I mentioned that. The link of YouTube. Here is the link of the recording. I mean the class, and here is the list of verbs. And for today's lesson, you have the explanation of simple past tense. I mean the summary. This is what you're going to see until the conversation and so on. And as soon as we finish the class and I have the recording in YouTube, I'm going to also upload the recording here in session 3. And formato publicitario is the way you can enroll to the level 5 when you finish this successfully this course. So here is the route. Where again, in Sayuna, once you are in Sayuna, you click in sesiones en línea, grabaciones, and check the information of the session we have already had. For example, session 1 was on the 19th. Session 2, this is today's session, is today, to the 21st. And the next session is going to be on the 25th, so on Wednesday and so on. Because remember that we are having sessions on Wednesdays and on Saturdays. Wednesdays, 4 p.m., Saturdays, 11 p.m., 11 a.m., sorry. Okay, so that's the answer for Jasmine. Okay, let's return. Yeah. So, what about grammar? We already know why we use the simple past tense. Why is this important? But how is it going to work? This is the question for now, right? We're going to do a parallel between present and past. In present, we said that we have the verb to be, and it's used for feelings, emotions, locations, age, and so on. And we also said in present tense that we have a person who performs an action. For example, we work, Mariana studies, they live in a house or apartment, whatever. Christian reads, I study, you watch TV, and so on, right? This is what we need to know in simple present tense. In simple past tense, we are going to do something very similar, because in simple past tense, we also have the verb to be that we are not going to study in this moment, not yet, because this is for next class. And we also have the use of other kind of verbs, in this case, regular verbs and irregular verbs. We need a person who performed an action yesterday, 1 month ago, 1 year ago, last week, 4 minutes ago, whatever. I studied, Mariana watched TV, they played soccer, we arrived late. Marcos and Natalia kissed yesterday, or yeah, you drank a cup of coffee 4 minutes ago, right? We need an action that was performed by somebody in the past. So the relationship between present and past is very similar. The only thing that changes, or the most important thing that changes, because it's not the only thing, is the verb, because we are going to use the verb in past. I begin an activity. I began an activity. This is the only change, without taking into account the context, because obviously the context is important. Bob builds a house. Bob built a house last month. I buy groceries in the store. I bought groceries in the store. Check this. The only difference in terms of grammar until now, and not taking into account the context, because the context matters, but for now we are just taking into account that it's not important, just for now, only for now. The only difference is the verb. I buy, I bought. I come to the party, I came to the party. I do exercise every day. I did exercise last week. Christian eats a hamburger. Christian ate a hamburger last month, right? This is the difference. we only take into account the difference. I mean, if we make a parallel between present and past, the only difference between present and past is the verb in affirmative sentences, right? In simple present tense, we said that the conjugation for negative sentences and questions, to create negative sentences and questions, we need the auxiliary verb. And the auxiliary verb in present tense could be don't or doesn't. And because of that, the main verb is not going to change. For example, Christian doesn't do exercise. We don't cook, right? In past, what are we going to do? In past, we are going to do something very similar because we are going to need an auxiliary verb and the main verb is not going to change. In this case, Christian didn't do exercise yesterday. We didn't play video games. We use the auxiliary verb in its past form for everyone, did not, and the main verb is not going to change. What about questions? The same. We are going to use do or does to create a question at the beginning of the sentence, and the main verb is not going to change. We're going to use does for Mario, Fernanda, and the rhino, and we are going to use do for everybody else. I, you, we, or they. Do you like to play sports? Does a Christian like to eat peanut butter? I don't know. In past, did you watch the movie? Did they, did Mariana buy a wedding ring? Right? Because the auxiliary verb is the word that's going to help us understand if we are in front of a present tense or a past tense, a negative sentence or question sentence. Okay, so if we understand how the simple present tense works, the past tense is going to be very easy to understand for us. So in terms of grammar, this is not going to be difficult. It's not going to be complex. The structure is going to be very similar to between these two sentences. So to do that, we're going to play two games, and that could be all for today's lesson because we have no more time. And we are going to do it in quizzes. So to join two quizzes, you're going to need to create an account. I hope this doesn't take you more than 5 minutes, but this is the game. The account is going to be useful for you for the next, is going to be useful always for you. So if you cannot join to the link, please create an account. And this account is going to be useful, is always going to be useful for the future games. And as soon as you join, I'm going to start the game. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute after one of you join the game to start the game. Okay, I will start in 1 minute, 12:14. Okay. For this test, you are going to see only questions in affirmative sentences. I mean, simple past tense with affirmative sentence. The next question, the next quizzes, sorry, is going to take questions of in past tense, obviously, but affirmative, negative, and questions, okay? Okay, let's go. Good luck. Because of the time, I'm going to stop the game in 3 minutes, okay? At 12:19. ¿Vale? Okie doke, yes. Okay, so then let's finish the game and I can start play the game again on Wednesday, on the session of Wednesday. So we can try with the game on that day, okay? Because if you have problems with the Wi-Fi, then it's not going to be possible for you to complete. Therefore, I'm going to stop the game and we are going to do it again on Wednesday. ¿Vale? All right, so next time on Wednesday, we're going to play the second game, something about simple past tense. And just to finish today's session, I invite you, in this case, I invite you to complete this dialogue between Anderson and Clint. This is something I want to do next time too. The idea for you is to read this dialogue in order for me to to check your pronunciation and to give you feedback in case that just in case that your pronunciation is not correct. And also I invite you to complete this exercise too. So here you have the main verb in simple present tense, go, stay, meet, be, and so on. And the idea for you is to choose the past form of this verb. So in this case, what's the past form of go? Is was, went, stayed, met, and so on. What's the past form of the verb make, for example? Is made, met, stayed, went, I don't know. This is a mix of regular and irregular verbs. And see if you have difficulty in any word in here. This is this is a story of New Year's Eve, something like that. So I invite you to check this story and check vocabulary, new vocabulary, if something is difficult for you, and additionally to check how to create a story with simple past tense. Okay. Last but not least, I remind you to complete the activity that we already mentioned in the learning guide. Is a timeline, and this is an example of timeline. What is important here is that for you to create sentences in simple past tense, in this case, the most important part you're going to use to create this activity is to use the simple past tense with regular and irregular verbs in affirmative sentences. Therefore, negative sentences and questions in simple past tense are not going to be very useful in this case, but if you want to use them, that's great. But I guess the most important topic you are going to use to create this evidence is sentences in simple past tense with affirmative sentences, sorry, in simple past tense. Remember that this activity uses simple past tense. And in my opinion, the most important the most important topic to solve this activity is to take into account regular and irregular verbs. Okay, so that would be all for today. If you have any questions, don't forget that you can contact me through my email, Turksajuna, also in these classes. And if you have any questions right now, I'll wait for you. If no, I will meet you again on Wednesday. Okay, so questions? Okay, yes, is writing, is typing, in fact. So I'll wait for you. Okay, look. So let's call it a day. This is an idiom. Call it a day es como decir, hagamos de cuenta que aquí termina el día, ¿no? Call it a day. Ese es un modismo. So let's call it a day. Thank you very much for coming, ladies, gentlemen, and I will see you next Wednesday. Okay, take care and goodbye, guys. Bye bye.